Okay, welcome to Architects of Change Live, conversations with change makers who are moving humanity forward. And we try to always bring you people who are thinking outside the box, making us think differently, igniting thought in ourselves. And certainly Dr. Martie Haselton, is doing that with her new book, which got my attention. It's called Hormonal: The Hidden Intelligence of Hormones, How They Drive Desire, Shape Relationships, Influence Our Choices, and Make Us Wiser. And I have welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
So great. This is a lot of work, obviously, went into this, a lot of thinking. Just the word hormones sends people into massive conversations. What is the takeaway you want women and men to know about hormones?
Well, there are a couple of things. I wrote a whole book about it.
Yes.
So it's hard to say that there's one takeaway. But one of the main things is that I think that there's a sexual double standard whereby we don't have a problem calling women hormonal.
Yes.
And following through with implications that might not be very good for those women.
Not complimentary.
Where, it's not going to keep them out of the White House.
Right.
Whereas if we call a man, we wouldn't even call a man hormonal, even though we know that there are hormone influences on men's behavior. And, we have monthly cycles, we have cycles that follow us throughout our years, from pregnancy and the postpartum period and so on. But men have hormone cycles every day. So it isn't the case that men are exempt from these phenomena.
Understanding hormones and how they play in men and women's lives is important. Why?
Well, I think that they have the potential to really guide our lives. Hormones have a deep evolutionary history. There's a reason why our hormones have effects on us. And so, for women, for example, we can become pregnant. We experience profound changes in the postpartum period. On individual hormone cycles, when we experience them, we experience changes in the things that we most desire and the activities that we prioritize in terms of how we spend our time. So I really think that at least for ancestral humans, but probably for modern humans as well, hormones have this deep intelligence that helped us to make decisions in our lives.
I have to say, I hadn't heard a conversation that involved hormones having a deep intelligence. I thought that was like, whoa. I've just heard really kind of about the confusion surrounding hormones, particularly with women who are perimenopausal, and oftentimes that happens in your 40s and 50s and beyond, and how women change dramatically in that period of time. Help us understand that.
Well, so one of the things that I think is fascinating about humans, when we view humans in the sort of broad animal kingdom context, is that we are one of the few species that has menopause. So we will stop reproducing, we will cease having menstrual cycles. And there are really fascinating reasons for that. So human children take a very long time to grow to reproductive maturity, right? Some of us, might have 30-year-olds still, hanging out in the house. But that's true generally across human populations, that it takes well into the teen years before our human children are able to take care of themselves and able to become reproductively mature themselves.
But what happens with women who are perimenopausal?
Right.
What is this kind of cycle?
Sure.
Confusion.
Well, it's just a big change.
Right.
It's a big change, and so some of it is probably, for some women, some dysregulation. Same thing for PMS, where we just we're experiencing a downturn for PMS in progesterone. We're experiencing a downturn in certain kinds of estrogens.
So how do you help people understand, perhaps women who have husbands or partners or women themselves, to understand this fluctuation that's very real, that's not something to joke about, that's founded in science and medicine. How do you help them understand what's going on in their brains and their bodies?
Okay, well, so I just want to, if I could complete
Great.
the point, if you don't mind, and that is that menopause probably serves an adaptive function, or at least it served an adaptive function ancestrally, and that was to shift us from not producing offspring of our own, because we might not live long enough to see them to reproductive maturity, but instead starting to invest in grand offspring. This is the grandmother hypothesis. So I think that it makes sense to, and I really hope that we can do some reframing about, menopause is not a medical problem that needs to be treated. But rather it is something that's natural, that happens with humans, and is something that can potentially be embraced. So if you don't have to worry about becoming pregnant again, then that might change your sex life somewhat. But yes, absolutely. I mean, different women have different experiences with their hormones. And one thing that I hope that the book will call for is more research.
Great.
Because we really do not have sufficient understanding of a lot of the hormone changes that women experience.
Why do you think that is? That's something that I talk a lot about in the space of Alzheimer's and women and cognitive health, really demanding more research on women, for women. I don't say that that's sexist, but it's smart because we're way behind in this space.
I think we are way behind.
Way behind.
I think we're way behind, and I think that some sexism might be involved. So some sexism and some practical considerations. So one of the practical considerations is that females in general, across animal species, are considered to be more messy because they have hormone cycles that are across the month. And so, if you're doing a science experiment, you want to take that variation away.
I see.
The NIH has now revised their guidelines to recognize that it's not okay to exclude females and consider males as the default.
Right.
You have to include both males and females, because even at the cellular level, males and females are different. But I do think that there could be some sexism involved, that people just simply believed that males could be viewed as the default.
Why did you want to do a whole book on this? What was it about this subject that you found so captivating and that you were like screaming to let the world know about?
Wow,
because there's a lot of work into this.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is the culmination of about 20 years of work in my research lab.
Wow, 20 years of work in her lab that went into this book.
And I just found it fascinating. And it overturned a lot of our assumptions. So people tend to think that humans have been emancipated from hormonal control. That's actually the scientific term that gets used. And I just found that totally implausible. From my perspective as an evolutionary thinker, that on those crucial fertile days of the cycle when you can become pregnant, why in the world would information about our fertility cycles not affect our decision making? And so that was the initial impetus for doing the work. And then we started to find really interesting things that were overturning the assumption that humans were different from other animal species, and that we do have these hormone cycles, and that they're fascinating in their implications, and that the more that women know about their hormone cycles, the more they can make better decisions about their lives.
So, and that's what I think I really want to glean, because in understanding that, are you also suggesting don't make certain decisions at this time, or allow your hormones to make these kind of decisions because they actually make you wiser?
Well, I think hormonal nudges, not hormonal control. So I would certainly, qualify that a little bit. But what I think is that it depends on what a woman's motivation is. So if she's out for the spectacular sexual encounter, then she might make one kind of decision, whereas if she is interested in shoring up her relationship with her mate, then she might make a different kind of decision. So one of the things that we observed, and this was one of the first findings in our research was that women became more interested in men other than their long-term partners. At least some women did on fertile days of the cycle. And so, it kind of depends on, I'm not going to tell women what the best decision is.
That your hormones do affect the way you make decisions.
They certainly nudge you and your cravings. Yeah,
right.
I like that word better.
Yeah.
And that if you understand those cravings
yeah.
and where they're coming from, then you know whether you want to blow it off,
yeah,
or you want to embrace it and do something, ride your hormonal waves.
But I think that that's so interesting, is really understanding your body and where your body may be leading you on a given day is due to your hormones, and it might write you on a different day or a different part of the month. And so to be patient with yourself, to know yourself, to understand that we're also very different.
Yes. And I encourage women, the last chapter of the book is actually called Hormonal Intelligence.
Yes.
And what I encourage, which is a couple of different things, but what I encourage women to do is to track their cycles and to track how their hormones are making them feel, so that they can know what those nudges mean and make better decisions.
So you look at this as really as a health guide to people. To understanding their health, you have to understand your hormones.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I would say psychological health in particular. But certainly, pharmaceutical companies have been mandated to study the health implications of things like hormone replacement, the pill, and so forth. But the psychological implications have been far understudied. And even in the postpartum period, we've done a little bit of work on postpartum depression and breastfeeding, but we still don't know very much. And with respect to hormone replacement, the best information that we have is that in the early phases of the postpartum period, perimenopausal period, hormone replacement is not doesn't have as many negative side effects, whereas it does later in life.
What we've learned more about taking it for a short period of time, obviously always checking all of this with your doctor.
Of course.
But that when you're kind of perimenopausal, to maybe begin that and then monitor how long you're on it. It's not a lifetime prescription.
Perhaps not,
right.
But I just don't think that we have complete answers there. I mean, NIH trials have been stopped short, but I don't think that we're at the end of the road.
Right. So I like the whole idea that this is because you mainly hear about women learning about hormones when they are perimenopausal and menopausal, and you're really saying that it's a part of our lives from the beginning until the end, and that the more we understand about that men have it too, that women have it, and that it does not wreak havoc. Some women would say that they wreak havoc on them, but that they have their own intelligence and their own impact on your choices, your life, how you feel.
I think that there are some sexist stereotypes that say that the hormonal woman is, don't hire her, don't allow her to make decisions in the White House. But I just think that that's completely false. So if we hire a hormonal woman, put her in the White House, is she going to pick up the red phone and, and cause havoc? You have to ask yourself, well, who put the red button there in the first place?
Now, this book is really deep, very thoughtful, as you just said, 20 years of work. Why even good girls flirt with bad boys. There's a lot of stuff in here that when you read it, makes a lot of things make sense.
I hope so.
Yeah, so I want to thank you for coming on for the 20 years of work that went in. The book is called Hormonal, The Hidden Intelligence of Hormones, How They Drive Desire, Shape Relationships, Influence Our Choices, and Make Us Wiser. And I, for one, never thought about hormones in that context. So that's eye-opening.
I think we should take back the word hormonal. and celebrate it.
And celebrate it and make it actually something that's substantive and smart.
Absolutely.
There you go. Taking back the word hormonal. Get the book. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
My pleasure.